There was a Target pitch that I land in Minneapolis for, jump in the Uber, head over to the pitch. I get an alert on the phone, and we had negative $35,000 in the bank account.
This is a jingle. This is our jingle. Welcome to The Culture Edit, your weekly roundup of all things work and culture. Hosted by Nikki and Chad Strickland, co-founders of Niche Culture, a strategic consultancy and creative agency helping some of the world's top brands define, articulate, and promote their culture to their employees and the world. Welcome, episode 007.
007. We have special guests for 007. They're gonna be really excited about that because that was the only thing they seemed to care about was making sure they were 007.
So did you sufficiently welcome the guests to your liking?
Buongiorno.
Because this has been a drama every week.
Yeah.
All right, so
Welcome.
You're happy with the welcoming.
Well, I was trying to think of how to welcome someone from Hong Kong because we do have listeners from Hong Kong now, but I completely blanked. You have to give me some time to research that.
And practice the pronunciation.
Yeah, I mean, they speak English, so
then you can just say welcome.
welcome. Cheerio.
Cheerio. So our subscribers all over the world, our listeners all over the world, thank you for tuning in every week. We've had really, really great feedback.
Lots of feedback on the group rides. Lots of ideas for guests.
Too many ideas. It's like we're going to have an open casting call.
Yeah, I guess at some point we should clarify who our guests are going to be. Well, first of all, they got to be interesting. So if you're recommending a guest, make sure you think about whether or not they're interesting, especially if you're recommending yourself.
So this week we saw the Barbie movie on Monday, like we said we would. And, I don't know. I feel like everyone...
Hold on, before you get into the review. So we went to Barbie on a Monday. We went early, got drinks at the bar at Serena. A couple of guys were next to us. They also go to Barbie. We could tell because they were wearing pink. And like always, you started talking to them and we started to learn their deepest, darkest secrets.
He did tell me how because he was like, oh, you must be really excited to go see Barbie because you're a girl and, you played with Barbies growing up, which is actually not true. I really didn't play with Barbies. I was more of like a stuffed animal, veterinarian type person, but I did have Barbies. And he's like, as a gay man growing up, as a child, I secretly played with Barbies, and so my parents never knew. So this is like my biggest dream realized because all I wanted as a little kid was a pink Barbie car. And it's funny because in my mind, I was like, really? Because like all I wanted was a Superman car.
When he was talking about his dad, how much he disappointed his dad.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah.
And they were slamming martinis.
And
the best part was we thought they were going to the 6 o'clock with us. And then we got up to leave and they were actually going to the 7.
They're like, we're going to the 7:15.
So they're going to be blackout.
Yeah, they were cool. But I don't know why people always tell me they're like deep, like right off the bat. I didn't even, I'm not even asking like what's your deepest, darkest secrets as a kid and why are you going to the Barbie movie? They kind of just open up.
And your eyes.
Yeah, my eyes.
The big eyeballs.
It's like look in my eyes and I can see your soul.
Yeah. So it was. I think I was definitely the only straight guy in the movie theater. And then
No. There was some guys that had been dragged in there and they were just as miserable as you. I
Really?
saw. Yeah, I saw them. I saw a couple because I kind of took tabs of like miserable. That guy's miserable. That guy's miserable. And there was a lot. They just came in late.
Were they wearing pink?
No,
Okay.
they weren't. No.
Okay. And the rest were just teenage girls and moms.
Yeah, a lot of moms, daughters.
This was the iPic in Midtown, which is the only movie theater you'll go to.
Yeah, but then after the experience the other week, I still go there for like a really long movie just because the seats are more comfortable. But we tried to order 3 different bottles of wine and they were out of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing they had left was like gas station Cabernet for $50.
But I still like it. And honestly, the main reason, or one of the reasons I like it is because there's all those bars near it. So you can kind of like have dinner before, What was the other place that I went to? You haven't been yet, at the end of the courtyard.
No idea.
It's like,
You
what?
asked me what's the name of the place that I have not been to. Okay.
It was the place I went with friends was Saints and Council. It's kind of like at the end of Colony Square, tucked back in the corner.
It's a weird name. So the review for Barbie, you want to get into it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it somewhat brief because everyone on the internet has completely had existential crises, overanalyzed. I don't know, like some are going to name their firstborn child Barbie because they loved it so much. Some are going to burn all their kids' Barbies because they hated it so much. I think it's not that deep. To me, when I walked out of the movie theater, we talked about this. You were like, "How do you feel?" It felt like it was written by someone with ADHD, and then it was produced and paid for by too many people. There was too many cooks in the kitchen, and it just got chopped up into a million pieces with a million different messages. It felt very incohesive, which I think has led to people speculating on these like extremes. But I don't even think it was that. I just think it was a hodgepodge of edits that were spliced together because people paying for it didn't like certain things. And then when I saw the GQ article about it, it was like they had gone into a fight with Mattel because Mattel didn't want it to be a feminist movie. And then, so there was that part of it. They had to pull out a bunch of stuff that was leaning really heavy on the feminism side. Amy Schumer was involved at some point. I don't even understand that. And then she just decided she didn't want to be a part of it because it wasn't feminist enough. And then the writer and director actually came out and said she has ADHD. And it was just like, there's just too many, I think, too many elements.
I felt like they were trying to be satirical and funny and failed.
Yeah.
That was my take on it. It was boring. I just was literally bored. And I think people are trying to look into it and they don't understand that it's satire.
Yeah.
And so kind of the joke's on them. Like if you think
they're taking
something
it so
more,
literal.
But overall, I thought it was boring. And I know our friend Andrea Freeman would agree with me because she made a statement about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what's crazy is people have been angered that there's a wheelchair Barbie because they felt like the movie was like checking a box. There actually was a wheelchair Barbie. It was like, I think she was like a school reporter or something. And it didn't say wheelchair Barbie. It was just like school reporter Barbie. And she happened to be in a wheelchair. So that wasn't fabricated in modern society. So again, that goes to just, I think everyone wants to be either super angry about something or super extreme.
Culture wars.
And it's just not that deep.
Yeah.
I just don't think it was that deep.
Yeah. If you want to see a boring movie, it's waiting for you.
But maybe we'll redeem ourselves and see Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I think maybe this coming Monday we'll try to see Oppenheimer.
Okay, Tour de France. We never kind of closed the loop on that. Obviously, it ended last... Big sigh. It ended last weekend. Chad's big sigh is coming from the fact that we were having a bet on who's going to win. Chad was for Pogača and I was for Vinigo, and Vinigo won.
Yeah.
Even though I do love Pogača.
Yeah, and he still won the white jersey, best young rider, and he won multiple stages. So, he had a fantastic tour, but when you've won the tour twice, your standard is to win the tour again.
Yeah. But that's all I have on my list besides... this is kind of random, but we're going to test a theory. I went to my top secret facial place in Duluth again. And when I went in, it was more crowded this time. And again, I'm the only non-Korean in this place. And I would say the average age of the Korean woman is probably over the age of 60. So it's like definitely an older place. And as soon as I walk in, it's like you can sense the gossip. I just feel like it's grandmas and they're just talking about me. So I'm going to take a page from the Greg of Succession playbook.
Cousin Greg.
And I'm going to turn my translator on and listen to them next time. I'm 100% doing it and I will report back.
I can't wait for you to do that.
I'm kind of scared though.
I want a complete transcript of your entire visit and we'll go over it. So you don't want to talk about what you call brunch and everyone else calls early dinner?
Oh, Dunch.
Dunch?
Yeah, Dunch. We did go to Dunch this past Sunday at Del Bar, our usual spot. But we invited 10 of our closest friends and made it a party. And then what's nice about that is we all kind of meandered down to Vinoteca, bought a bottle, sat outside, and had a great time. On that note...
Okay.
So on that note, what's happening in the world of work?
The biggest news is that the UPS strike has been averted. Teamsters and UPS have come to agreement, which gives the agreement, I think, definitely gives unions quite a bit of leverage. Unions haven't, at least major unions, have not been able to conduct this type of activity successfully in a long, long time. The other thing in the newsletter I know that you feel really passionate about is the article around the lazy girl job. in the Wall Street Journal. Apparently, it's a TikTok trend, the lazy girl job.
Well, I think there's a TikTok, so it's all about like lazy girl era. So it's the lazy girl makeup, it's the lazy girl hair, it's the lazy girl workout, lazy girl job. Yeah, I mean the idea of the lazy girl job is that they just want to do the bare minimum, get paid, and then not really have any, big commitments to having to work late hours or work early mornings or be indebted to their job. And I mean, to me, it's like, I don't know. I don't think everyone can be a quote unquote like ladder climber, want to spend their days working on the weekends. But this isn't anything new.
I think the point though was before it wasn't as easy to do that because now there's so many work from home jobs.
Yeah.
And since there are so many work from home jobs, it's easier to quote unquote have a lazy girl job, which the article also talked about. It's not just girls, it applies to guys too. Like guys can have a lazy girl job, I guess.
Lazy guy job.
But I think that was the point, is that the new world of work is enabling and empowering the people that, to your point, have always just wanted just to check the box, but now they get to do it from home and only work a few hours a week. Okay. So we've got quite a few guests lined up and that we're all really excited about. We had to make a little audible call today because we've got a few recorded, but we ran into our first bureaucratic legal challenge that's under review with the legal department.
Not that anything.
We won't say the organization, but they're listening. So
yeah.
This is the first, and it taught us a lesson too, that we need to think about that when we're thinking about scheduling.
But luckily we've been pre-recording a lot, so just a little shuffle of the deck, which I actually think will work out better because now our good friends are getting the 007 number.
Which is all they wanted.
Which is all they wanted.
They just wanted episode 007. It looked like it wasn't going to work out that way, but now it is, and I think they're going to be pumped.
The universe is here to deliver dreams, and it delivered.
Yeah, and so you're about to hear the first of actually 2 episodes with these guys. This is going to be pretty dynamic.
It's pretty loud.
It's very loud.
A lot of laughing.
There's a lot of poo talk.
A lot of cursing. This is definitely not for the children's ears out there.
Good point. Yeah. So
I'm not sure if I have to
Jacob,
toggle like the explicit button on this one, but
yeah. So Jacob, you want to turn this off now? We don't need our nieces and nephews.
Disclaimer: if your kids are under the age of, what is it, like 12 nowadays, because they're exposed to everything anyways, just cut it off now.
Yeah. So you want to do a little introduction? Tell our audience who our guests are.
Yeah, let's do it. Sam Niebel and Charlie Sikiak are the co-founders of Goodwipes, a premium flushable wipe for adults. Based right here in Atlanta, our hometown, Goodwipes is one of the fastest growing consumer packaged goods in the U.S. It's available at Kroger, Target, CVS, Publix, Safeway. Never been to a Safeway, but I'm sure it's great. So basically everywhere. They're the fastest growing flushable wipe brand on Amazon, which is where I order my Goodwipes from. And while tech companies with vaporware get all the headlines, these are the guys that are really making it happen. All of this has been done with a crazy amount of focus on brand, culture, and relentless hard work, which we've watched all through these years, and it's been really impressive. Full disclosure, Sam and Charlie are my friends from college. That's something we get into. We have a lot of jokes about it, and we've remained friends this whole time. So I'm personally really proud of not only everything they've accomplished, but how they've done it and the leaders that they've become. Further disclosure, because Chad is making me say this since he's a lawyer, we are investors in Goodwipes. Not sure why I had to say that, but this is such a dynamic story. We had so much to talk about that we're actually breaking it into 2 episodes. The first will be about their journey, the highs and the lows. It's really, really good, maybe a little bit emotional. And the second will be all of their thoughts on brand, culture, and people, which I think any entrepreneurs trying to start a business can, or just anyone even in marketing, can learn so much from these guys.
And even though you sound like an ad, that wasn't a paid advertisement.
It wasn't.
Going on the top.
Yeah, this podcast is crazy. Y'all better jump in. Tune in now.
Welcome, Goodwipes, Sam and Charlie.
Very
Charlie
well,
and Sam.
Thank you so much.
you
It's
feel
awesome to
very
be
welcome.
here.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Fred, you're the first duo guest we've
Ooh.
had.
Yeah.
Yeah, in studio.
See, we need to have hats that have like accolades to like first duo, first interview.
007.
cool.
Yeah,
007.
007. That's we need to do that because
Okay.
that would be cool. Like a little gift.
I'll add it to my list.
Yeah.
Charlie's coughing too.
Everyone, do y'all have COVID?
No. Let's do it.
Well, let me ask you,
Everyone-
is it surreal for y'all to be sitting here think about like the journey. Like, so y'all are sitting here together. Obviously, y'all spend all your time sitting here with Nikki. It all goes back to college. Like, is that kind of crazy?
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
And I had to fact check. Potbelly's bartender,
Yep.
Yanni's bartender.
That's right.
Wow.
Spent
right.
a lot of time at both of those, obviously.
Yes.
Yep.
Purely for the girls.
Well, and
Money.
yeah, there was
Yeah,
a
you make a lot of
financial
Money.
upside.
Yeah.
Only money.
Financial upside.
Only money.
So the girls didn't matter. It was just the money.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Charlie disagrees.
It's about, being a people person in Tallahassee. You're more popular if you're a bartender.
That's correct.
Yes.
That was important.
At that time, there was definitely a little bit of clout chasing.
Yeah, the word I was going to say is clout.
Yeah.
We ain't scared to say it. No one else will. Let me tell you something right now. No one else is going to get on your podcast and say they wanted clout. No one else is going to get on your podcast and say they wanted clout. I'm here today to tell you I was bartending for two things.
Yeah.
Money and I guess a little clout.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
I think Smerrill would say that it was for clout too.
Oh, I got to get
nice.
the camera back. I love her. She is way too famous to announce that.
We got to get her on the podcast because she is really funny.
Yeah, you should get her on. Yeah, you should get her on.
Did you know that both those bars go way back to my time?
Yes.
Yeah. Both
I did
of them.
not.
There's not many.
2 or 3 years prior.
Potbellies.
He didn't get the joke.
Oh yeah. I thought you were talking prior to me. Prior to So Potbellies actually opened while I was in college.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
What was that like? Was it good when it opened?
It wasn't good.
Okay.
It wasn't good.
What
No,
was good when you were there?
Yanni's?
Really?
100%.
And
Can I
you were
ask
GDI.
one question just to refresh my memo?
Yeah.
What was the year you graduated?
96.
So
93
we're all
to
like
96.
little kids.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome.
He's doing the math.
So
he's like
Yanni's was there.
I was
I
3,
was 8.
8. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say I was 5 because I didn't do the math, but if you were 8, then I was 8.
Yeah. 93 to 96. So Potbellies opened then. No one went. And I mean, like game day stuff maybe, but Yanni's was the place to go. And Bullwinkles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the origin story, Goodwipes, the abbreviated version. Were you guys roommates?
We were roommates for 10 years,
Yeah.
12 years,
At least. Yeah.
10 or 12 years.
You want to count them off?
So before college, or did it start in college?
Started in college. So fraternity house, after college, Jacksonville we'll name every single one if we have the time to do that. We were in Jacksonville, Atlantic Beach for 4 to 6 months.
Can you talk about Charlie without looking at Charlie?
Yeah, is that for because I keep fucking up the mic?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So it's very hard because we look for confirmation.
Yeah. I'll give you a
I'm the
confirmation.
same way. Like, I'll look at him.
Yeah.
It's like, I can do it. I got you.
Okay, you can. All right. So we live together in Atlantic Beach.
Wait, this is
Neptune Beach.
after college?
After college, for Complete Nutrition. Then we moved into our friend's family's house in Jacksonville. I forget the name of the area. It was by a Hooters. It was right down the street from a Hooters, I remember. And we lived there for 3.5 months. Then we moved into my parents' house. No. Then we moved to Omaha, and then we moved to Minneapolis. Then we were in Greenville, South Carolina for 2 to 3 months. Then we were in Denver and we lived in Aurora, Colorado. Y'all don't want to go there, whoever's listening, I can guarantee you. Then we moved to Stuart, Florida. Had a couple homes there.
Sailfish capital of the world.
Remember the first place that we lived in Stuart? The stay-at-home for 2 days, and it was not good. Roaches, not where you want to be.
Sam doesn't do well in those environments.
Dirty?
Sam grew up in Winter Park, Florida.
Oh, right.
Hold on. You're not suggesting that you wanted to live
I didn't want to
at that place.
No.
Okay.
But, it's
I was not doing well.
6:30 rolls around. Everyone's, it's a motel. Everyone's hanging outside, drinking beers, or sitting on their truck bed, smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Sam hated it.
Wait,
he thought our lives were in jeopardy.
Why were you
I thought we were going to die. I thought we were going to die in Stuart, Florida.
Why were you all living in all these different places?
So we thought we were going to franchise with this company called Complete Nutrition. We raised some money, applied the franchise. We were actually the youngest awarded franchisees in the system. And literally 3 days after we got approved, they went on a franchise freeze. But we had a pretty solid history of launching markets with a friend that was already a franchisee. And they said, all right, let's bring you guys to the corporate team. And if you guys can do 2 things while we pick your markets, it'd be a huge help. one, help us resurrect struggling markets that are struggling because of the lack of system structure and support as they expanded so quickly. And then two, we have a handful of stores or units that were in the pipeline to launch prior to the freeze. So could you guys do some store openings? So we traveled the country for, I think, like 12 or 18 months.
Yep.
So, and y'all were corporate W-2 employees.
At that point, yes.
Okay. Is that the only time you've ever been a corporate employee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I mean, it was no rules. You know, we were yearning. We had proximity to brilliant leaders, but they weren't supervising us, right? Since we had a good track record and we were kind of on this fast track to franchise, there was high level of trust and autonomy, which I think we appreciate and we thrived there. I think looking back, there were moments where they'd be like, all right, we're sending you to Denver. And we're like, where are we staying? And they're like, we'll figure it out and like Google the stores and get in like middle proximity to everything.
No budget.
So I had, I'm not joking, I had $17 in my bank account when we went to Denver.
Wow.
And I was like too scared of my masculine to be like, hey, can I get like our paycheck like 2 weeks early? Yeah. And I was like, all right. So I remember we shopped at some like crappy grocery store.
Yeah.
We spent like $10 and they're like, oh, where are you guys going to stay? We were traveling with one other guy and we're like, hey, like we'll Venmo you back. Like, can you throw this on yours? And yeah, that was a grind.
Yeah.
What did your parents and friends think of all this?
So complete nutrition, I think everyone was in on. It was tangible, and you could kind of see the path. We had friends that were doing it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, they got real jobs. They're so glad.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then when we said we're not doing that, and we were 23, and they're like, okay, you guys raised $1 million, and you guys are gonna have your own stores. No one knows that if you're not in franchising, you probably think franchising or owning your own stores is like a quick way to get rich, right? It's like, oh, it's a lifestyle. You're your own boss. And if you don't have more than 10 units in a management team, you're a slave to the stores.
Yeah.
So we were learning that. But everyone thought from the outside looking in that was going to be a win for us. When we shifted to Goodwipes was when I think everyone's kind of antennas went up. At Complete Nutrition, we got exposure to procurement and manufacturing. And we also fell in love with the relationship that brands share with consumers. So we were pretty fired up about going out and starting our own thing. And I remember that every time I would talk to my parents about it, they would look at me and they would smile and ask questions. And it would always end with, what are you going to do if this doesn't work? And I don't really roll like that. And it would make me so mad. All I would hear is, I don't believe in you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that would frustrate. And that probably went on for 5 or 6 years.
What made you two want to be entrepreneurs? Like, it's not a normal
I don't even think it was a question. It was never a question. I mean, it was never a question.
So in college, y'all are in the fraternity house, and you're like, we're gonna start a business. Let's start.
Were you in the entrepreneur program?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but you two both were like, we're gonna start a business. Was it we're gonna start it together, or just I've got to own my own business?
Yeah. So I think for me, I grew up in a probably lower middle class where like you eat what you kill. I didn't get an allowance, like that kind of stuff. But my dad was a contractor. He had a small crew. So I was always able to work for him. And throughout college, I kind of started my own like demo company where he would, did you ever come out? It was crazy.
Fuck no.
Where was this?
Wait, in college?
In Tallahassee. Yeah. So my dad's
that was the only time that Charlie and I were like never really together talking was if he was doing like a project for a week or something.
Wait,
like,
so did you grow up in Tallahassee?
So I was born in Tampa, Florida. I moved to Tallahassee when I was 10 and I ended up staying there.
I didn't know that. Where'd you go to high school?
Childs, Lawton Childs.
Oh, I went to Lincoln.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Like small town. Dad has a small business. I was going to go to community college and take over my dad's business, and like I thought I could dial it up. And I had a yearbook teacher, and she was like, "You're going to apply to Florida State." She actually wrote my essay to get in, and I had to take summer classes to get in. And I also didn't want to do the fraternity thing. Like one of my best girlfriends was like, "I think you're going to want to do it," and she made me rush. And I think those were pivotal moments in my come up, was going to like a university and stepping into Greek life.
So that's what fueled.
Yeah, I mean,
you.
so I feel like that for me, it was a little DNA. And yeah, I think Sam and I in college, we were, I think, always on the fringes together, right? Like,
yes. Like doing things that no one else was doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think we always bonded there, butt wipes being one of those things. And people are always like, these guys are crazy. They're always kind of in the front of the pack. They're on the fringes. And so if Sam ever raised his hand or charged on something, I had his back. And vice versa was true as well. And I think in that, we had the nightlife company in college, partydegree.com, with a handful of guys, and we held leadership positions on campus. So we learned that we worked well together, and we learned that we love to lead people and inspire people through experiences.
Yeah. Partydegree.com.
Partydegree.com. That's right.
Come on.
Yeah, I remember the flyers.
Y'all like through parties?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it was like it was promoting. It was like a promotion company, right?
There was a couple legs. There
Yes.
was
Was there party buses too?
There was a lot of layers.
Because I remember there was just a lot. It was a
It was a lot. But yeah, I mean, essentially we would partner with bars and bring in DJs, rappers, and we'd get a percentage of the door, we get a percentage of the bar. And
Wait, did you bring in T-Pain? Like, were you the reason T-Pain was in?
I don't know. I honestly can't even remember.
I think the first one was Steve Aoki, 2020.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We
2009,
we
2020
basically
nightclub.
broke Tallahassee because it's already like an extreme party school, and then we just said, "Hey, we're gonna change the game and just layer in a shit ton more
Avicii,
partying
Wiz Khalifa, Steve
over
Aoki,
the
yeah.
partying that's already happening." And it was
I completely
crazy.
forgot about 2020 nightclub.
Yeah, sure. A lot of people have.
Did y'all?
It was wild.
It was a nightclub?
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it was a nightclub.
Oh,
Wait,
where
did
was it?
Was it the
Next to the Golds on Pensacola.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's old Big
Out there.
Lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. You're doing all this during college, and so then you're like, all right, let's find a way to start our own business. And that's where the
Yeah, I think we developed a reputation. Maybe you want to share kind of the founding story of bonding over butt wipes and then how that transcended.
like we were just growing up on our own, obsessed with baby wipes. It is literally the only way I could. Like, you remember when I walked in here and said, "Hey, can I go to the bathroom in the middle of the podcast?" And I was a little like frantic, and you're like, "No, we have good wipes in there. You'll be fine."
Like, don't worry.
And anyway, so we would always share our, like, growing up, each of us would share with our friends. They would try it and they'd be like, okay, weird, but like, I feel cleaner. And just, we'd go play outside or do whatever we did. And in college, Charlie and I shared that we each had that same experience. And basically in the bathroom one day, we both found out, like, we both had our baby wipes bags, and it's like the Spider-Man meme where you're pointing to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wait a second, you do this too? Like, we were both the guys growing up that had baby wipes that we were passing out to our friends. And so we then kind of replicated that at college. Not like, hey, we're going to start a business, but just like, hey, all you guys are using see-through sandpaper as toilet paper, and like, you need to be using wipes. And they all thought we were crazy at first, same with our friends in high school. And then people would just ask us for them. People would always steal our wipes, and we just recognized that, like, we had something, because people didn't feel comfortable for a number of reasons going to the store, like going to Publix, and you don't know where to buy it. Like, you're not going to the baby wipe section. You go to the sushi bar in the back, and that's all you're getting at Publix, right? And beer and crab legs, Jameis, holler.
Just
And
cold crab legs.
and
Shout out to Jameis.
shout out to Jameis. I love Jameis. I'm obsessed with Jameis. He's one of my favorite people ever. And so anyway, we just recognized, like, there was an opportunity. We didn't know what we were doing when we started a few years after in Complete Nutrition, but we just knew that everyone was using it. And it wasn't just guys. Like, we were friends with everyone, having the clout that we had as bartenders.
So popular.
And everyone would just, like, use our wipes, and we just knew that this could be something that would really gain mass traction, and there wasn't anything out there that really was speaking to people at that time.
Yeah.
Between 2007 and 2000, and before we, whenever we started.
So Complete Nutrition just put you through the ringer. Mm-hmm. They don't end up giving you a franchise, I assume.
We pulled back.
Okay,
So
because you saw under the hood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were like, we were going to have to move to a market that we didn't want to live in, essentially.
Yeah.
But it was a huge blessing. It felt like a big setback. But that was when we got pushed on the corporate team for that year. It is when all the kind of dots started connecting, right? Because Complete Nutrition, they manufactured 80% of their own products, like super high margin business. And that's where we had exposure to the procurement and manufacturing. And they also did 100% of brand marketing in-house. So we got to see, like, end-to-end, like, conference room to shopper and consumer.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we can do this. We had enough to connect the dots.
You're like, it's not that hard. We can do this.
When was the exact moment when you looked at each other and were like, we've got to execute on this idea? Do you remember?
I do. We were in Jensen Beach in Stewart, and we read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And when we felt the sands shifting at Complete Nutrition and all the people that we liked starting to leave or get fired, and we're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And hating Stewart, Florida, because that place sucks. I mean, Oppenheimer should make a bomb for that place. I'll tell you what. And
Shout out to Stuart.
yeah, shout out Stuart.
Awkward.
Jensen Beach.
It's actually where my mom grew up.
Well, she's not there anymore, right? All right, so she's safe.
She's safe. She's in
Yeah,
Helen now.
just
Even
Stuart,
better.
Goodbye. The whole Treasure Coast. Vero's, fine, but just bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get it.
And yeah, you get it. And we read the 4-Hour Work Week, and I think we kind of gleaned different insights from it, each of us. And I love the idea because we felt trapped in Stuart, Florida, because it's the worst store in the system. And for me, it was this idea of you have to rely on bringing people to a store for all your products. And it was really hard in this particular location to get people to the store for a number of reasons, specifically down there.
So
That's part of it. That was just like my initial lens. And
Is
Charlie
that
had
what you
some good
remember?
ideas too.
when was it? And let me ask you this, Charlie. Was it a moment where you're like, it's butt wipes? Or was it more of like you guys had always kind of kicked around the idea because it was still rattling your head from college?
So yeah, I mean, we were known as the wipe guys. Then we had this exposure to brand marketing. We had this exposure to manufacturing procurement. I think what's unique to our story and kind of the reason why we initially started thinking about making a product was out of need state, right? So like at that time, Sam and I were into bodybuilding. We were both 40, 50 pounds heavier. We were eating 4,000, 4,500 calories a day.
Can I make a correction?
Sure.
I sadly might only be like 25. I was maybe only 25 pounds heavier.
Okay.
I wish it was. Yeah.
I don't remember the bodybuilding era.
Well, we were just bloated.
Yeah, we were
Strong and bloated.
Hopped
Swole.
up on
Yeah.
creatine.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were constantly going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And Sam has IBS. I have really sensitive skin. And you can imagine, right? Like that's just not a good mix. And we were using all these wipes that we were finding at the store, and it was just irritating. And we would both complain about it. And at some point while we were in Stewart, we were reading this book. We were feeling anxious about complete nutrition. And we both, I think, grew up in households with loving parents that instilled a lot of confidence in us. So there's a bit of naivety and a high degree of confidence. And we were like, we think we can do this. And that was it. I do think we were thinking about coming out with a supplement line,
Yeah.
but we had a non-compete.
Okay.
So we were kind of like, all right, where do we go? What do we do? And we're like, oh, we can't do supplements, but like butt wipes.
And had you raised money at that point? You'd raised money for the franchise?
So yeah, we gave that back.
Okay. So you gave that back. So then did you quit like right there and you slammed the book shut? You're in Stewart. This sucks. Did y'all quit at the same time?
It kind of all happened at once. Like we opened our LLC, thought we were, getting ready for it. And I think the new guy at corporate, that dweeb from the tire company, would kind of like come and kind of plant the seed to this woman that was working with us, who was an amazing woman, and plant the seed that like we were disinterested and like dissatisfied, but he wouldn't say anything to us. So, typical corporate passive aggressive, like undermining stuff. But I guess in hindsight,
he was right.
It worked out. Yeah, he was right. I mean,
Yeah.
his radar wasn't
so
completely.
he was like, but then what they did do that was very slimy is they promised everyone working there that they weren't going to shut the store down while they were shutting the store down.
Of course.
Brutal. So they don't have any stores anymore?
Maybe a handful in the Midwest.
Maybe a handful. I think most of them have been taken over by Total Nutrition, a few others.
Okay. So what brought you to Atlanta?
Proximity. We were broke. I mean,
Yeah,
we
we were
had
broke.
like a little bit of cash, like less than 50,000 a piece.
Well, proximity to what?
To where we were living. So we launched the company out of Sam's parents' house
Okay.
in Winter Park, Florida. Sam told me and promised me and swore to me that we'd only be there for 3 months. Fast forward 15 months, we were like, we gotta like get out of here.
Yeah.
And we couldn't like afford to move all our stuff across the country. We were traveling a bit. Atlanta's travel hub of the Southeast, and we were doing trade shows at America's Mart downtown.
Uh-huh.
On top of that, we had a big network up here, right? So we're like, all right, let's pack all our stuff up in our cars. Let's get a crummy little spot up in Buckhead, and let's build in Atlanta.
What year was that?
2015.
Huh. So it was right before Switch Yards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so funny thing about Switch Yards is Sam saw Michael Tovani make like a blog post or something about Switch Yards and how he believes Atlanta is going to be the next CPG, like emerging brand,
exactly.
consumer hub in the country.
Yeah.
And we were like, love this guy, love the vision. That was probably 50% of the reason why we came up to Atlanta.
Wow.
Oh, really? Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
All
actually
because of
came
it.
up here. We actually came up and we met at San Francisco Coffee down in the Highlands.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Do not move up here for switch yards." And we're like, "Okay, cool." We're in our minds, we're like, "He's gonna invest in us, and we're gonna love switch yards."
Somebody's like, oh shit, I didn't realize what that blog post was going to do.
He's like, don't plan your whole business around me.
Yeah,
And we did.
we literally did.
And now they're right across the hallway from our
They are,
yeah.
where we're
Still
recording.
members. Member 6, member 7.
Yeah.
But the question is, has he ever invested in Goodwipes?
He is not. He is
No.
not.
Wow.
To be fair, I didn't ask him, and I just forgot to ask him for this last round. So maybe he would, but
Yeah.
Even like talk a little bit about your branding, how that's evolved, because your branding and marketing is awesome. And when people say like, oh, what sets them apart from just any other company having a wipe, I personally think, I mean, it's the people behind the product, and the product is really great, but also the branding is hilarious and engaging.
I mean, Maria G, the hustle bee.
Oh, I love her.
She's the best.
yeah.
She first one to join the team 7.5 years ago. Actually, switch yards. She was downstairs doing some copy for another company. Sam saw her. He came up. He's like, "Hey, do you think that?" Sam always wants to spend money. So he comes up and he's like pitching it a little bit. I'm like, "Yeah, ask her." And so he goes down and he ends up poaching her. And when we moved to Cincinnati in 2016 for an accelerator, that was when we were like, "We can afford to pay you a little bit, but you have to move to Cincinnati with us." And she was like, "Done, let's go." And she moved to Cincinnati with us like on a whim. We stayed there for 9 months, went through an accelerator. It was in proximity to P&G Kroger. And that's really where we learned kind of like the language of CPG. And we got our first look at data and customer frequency per channel, per category. And that's where I think was a really, really strong platform and a launching point for the business.
Yeah. I remember when you guys got into that. That was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
It was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like so on the branding and the creative stuff, I think it's, you got to know who you are, but also don't take yourself too seriously. I think that's where we do well.
So the journey then, you get to Atlanta, you read 4-Hour Work Week, which you now realize is a complete crock of shit.
There were nuggets in it.
And you read Tavani's blog,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, this is where we need to be. We know some people.
Yep.
Let's move to Buckhead.
That's right.
You get up here, you get into switch yards, and that's when we met.
That's when we met.
You and I. You already knew Nikki.
Yep.
And then your first hire is Maria,
First hires Maria. Yes.
and then you go to the accelerator.
We go to accelerator.
How long was the accelerator?
Accelerator was 6 or 8 months. We ended up staying in Cincinnati for 9. We thought we were going to move there.
So what year was that? What year did you come back to Atlanta?
We came back, I think, in 2016.
Okay.
Stepping into 17. It was like the end of 2016. And Sam made a post. We were really bullish on brand. And we were like, all right, we need to hire a copywriter, a videographer, and a photographer. And so I was like, Sam, we need to do this. He's like, okay. So Sam gets on social. Sam's really loud on social. And
No.
he makes some extravagant post. And Nikki responds.
Oh yeah, with poop.
And Nikki responds with, "Hey, I don't know this guy, but we were at a Halloween party, and he was dressed as he was wearing a poop emoji costume.
Yeah.
He seems like a good time. I think you guys would get along."
Yeah.
And then I think that's what kind of like kept us going here in Atlanta.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that we're
Yeah.
part of the reason you stayed here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So you guys you had a brand identity though, like from the beginning, you guys kind of knew it was going to be a fun brand,
Yes.
right? Is that just a reflection of your personality? Is that what it is, or?
Yeah. It's an interesting question, and Sam can speak on this too. I think early days, the brand has to be a reflection of the people building it. Has to be sincere. It has to be authentic. I don't think you want to lose that as you scale. But if you want to grow big, we're selling a $3 product. So like volume is really important to us, and the mass adoption is important to us. So when we think of scale and the adoption curve, there are some things that we're really bullish on that we probably need to like loosen up a little bit and let fall off. And so I think in the beginning, it has to be a direct reflection of the people driving it. And it always will be that, but you have to understand that it's not always about you as you scale.
Yeah.
And so that's been, I think, an interesting thing for us, especially, you know, like 80% of our audience is female,
Oh, wow.
right?
Yeah.
So you have 2 male founders. And so like a lot of times we have to take a couple steps back and really listen, because it's not, it's, you know, we're in a consumer democracy, right? It's not about us.
That's interesting.
Had you guys raised money during that time, that 2016, 2017?
Oh, yeah. We raised a little bit. Yeah. Just from angels.
Okay. And so what are you spending most of your time doing? Those 2016, 2017, like what do you, when you
Kicking rocks.
what, every day? Like
I
what?
mean, yeah, I loved those days. The accelerator was awesome. I mean, like we would
It
have
was
two,
very, very fun. It was very fun.
like 2 and 3 shifts. Like everyone's working and everyone's living in the same space and working out of the same space. And you know, you're up early, you're doing meetings, you're doing the accelerator thing, which some of it was distracting. You'd go home, you eat, and then you come back at like maybe 10 or 11, and there'd be 20 or 30 people like at the office just cranking away. And so having proximity to other people that were heads down and really pressing in, I think was super helpful in that season. Our days were a lot of cash management and a lot of ops and a lot of sales.
Okay.
You know, we were constantly on the brand side. You know, we didn't have the capacity to really push it out a ton. So we were doing some social, but a lot of the brand, we were focused on packaging and decks. We're trying to get it in front of customers that can make it available to consumers.
Had you guys clearly defined roles at that point?
No. No.
So how was that working?
Yeah, I mean, on this, so I definitely lean, I think, more towards ops than you do.
Yes.
So like if anything is broke, and I think this comes from like my dad being a contractor. I grew up in the country, like really strong, I think, problem solving tendencies, and things are always breaking. So on the ops side, that stuff would make sense for me. So I would gravitate towards that oftentimes. And we were both always selling. And so there was a time when it was just Sam and I selling, and you know, he might have Walmart, I might have Target, and it was literally whoever got the deal, right? And you make the relationship, and you just stayed close, and you walked and you served. And then obviously at scale, that doesn't work, and I think we started learning each other's giftedness and what we like to do a bit more, and started solving for that in the roles and the responsibilities.
So Sam, what do you do?
I don't do anything. I just hang out and yell.
Make videos.
Make videos.
I mean, you have me intrigued by the selfie videos where you're like, something big's happening, and I'm
So now, really, I literally cannot speak on any of it, but when I'm saying that we have these crazy conversations, it's like pinch me like, whoa, what the heck is happening right now?
Yeah.
that's so awesome.
It's like you would never believe what is happening behind the scenes that people will not see. And it is always interesting to talk about retail as well. When I say, oh, today was a great call, no one will know the result of that for at earliest 5 to 6 months, maybe 8 months to a year. The calls that we're having now, probably the bigger they are, the longer that it'll be. But you have to think long term, especially in anything that you do. But in consumer, like that doesn't faze us. Like when we get on a call, we're not like, oh, when can we do something with this person, or when can we do X, Y, Z? It's like, okay, we know it's going to be a year. And if you're not building for the long term, then you're not a builder. GTFO. That's my message to the audience.
We have similar mindset with our agency, and it's, I think, what sets us apart from other people that have tried to do similar things and failed is they're so obsessed with the short term, like making a ton of money is upfront. I mean, scaling how many people they hire to give off this perception that it's this massive company, this massive agency. Mm-hmm. But we're constantly thinking, okay, long-term relationships, long-term strategy around operating costs and overhead, just to be able to weather any storm.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's the deal with the headcount question?
Like why people are obsessed with it?
Yeah, like how many people do you have working for you?
I don't know.
What is am I missing?
That's
ego.
a great question.
It's 100% ego.
Because I love jobs more than I love jobs. I love jobs in America. I love jobs everywhere. I love everyone working. I love everyone feeling good every day about what they're doing. And you have to have your craftsmanship and earning. And I love that. But what is the question of how many people you got working for you?
No, so are you talking about that question coming from a potential partner or a
Random.
just rando? Or in
anyone, but like
Startup
let's
world.
say it's random. Let's say it's random.
startup random.
There's
Startup
two
random.
separate possibilities. So, because if it's a random person, they're just like, it's like a flex now. Oh, I've got 50 people working for me. And I think also they're trying to figure out how much money you could be making based on how many people you're paying.
Yeah.
That didn't cross your mind? No? Okay.
Yeah, I think I think in a lot of people's minds, the number of people that you have on payroll is a direct reflection of like the size of
The
company.
success.
Yeah.
I agree. Which we all know doesn't reflect anything.
Oh, I know a lot of massively overstaffed companies that have lower revenue per head, and I know a few that have that over-index in revenue per head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and this is a tangent. We'll come back. But this is something that drives me personally crazy all the time. Because in the whole, like, especially in like the women's startup founder space, there's a lot of kind of ego of how many people do you have working for you? Oh, yeah. How many people do you have?
From women to women?
Yeah.
Women to women?
It's like a
What?
common, like you walk into a networking event. It's like, well, how many people do you have working for you? And I hate that question.
Why is everyone judging each other and
Exactly.
sizing up each other's businesses? It's like
Exactly.
when I'm talking to someone, I want to help them. Yeah, I had a phone call yesterday. They were to ask me questions. I ended up asking them 97 questions, but I said, yes, let me help you however, and then I want to learn from you
Yeah.
So the answer,
and be proud of you and excited for you.
I think the answer is because most people in that position are paralyzed with insecurity. They're completely terrified. I think in the entrepreneurial world, that's a big part of why you're getting those questions, which I think is a testament to you guys, because you didn't have that, from my perception, you didn't have that impacting your actions.
Sure.
Whereas so many are thinking, do I really want to do this? That's what's going on, is do I really want to do this? You guys were always, you're in college going, I want to start a business, right? And so that's the big difference is I'm insecure because I don't know if this is really what I want to do. I could go back and get a normal corporate job and it'd be a lot more comfortable. I need that affirmation that someone else is doing well, because either that's going to help me do well or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think from the outside looking in, entrepreneurship is really sexy.
Yeah, exactly.
And, we have a little mantra that, this is sweaty, not sexy.
Yeah.
And we check everything. Like, are we doing this because people are going to think it's cool? They're going to give us praise, or is this going to drive a return? Is it going to set us up for a long term? And is it going to continue to build a healthy, strong, growing core business for us?
Yeah.
And a lot of times that stuff isn't fun. I think a lot of times that stuff from a team perspective and a leadership perspective, having a small number of things that you focus on with a high level of intensity, and you're leading that, it can feel really lonely, right? Because a lot of people you don't get accolades and you don't get praise for continuing to remind people where we're going and that we're doing the same things over and over again. But spoiler alert, when it starts working, people start recognizing that winning is more fun than fun is fun. And then people start getting fired up about doing the same things over and over again and separating from the competition.
Right. It's hard work.
Yes.
And most people, I think, struggle with that. They think entrepreneurship will be a life of freedom, and not as hard as the reality of it is.
Yep.
And I mean, we've even experienced that. Even our last guest, who is a good friend of mine for 20 plus years, we worked in the corporate environment for a long time. He was like, I thought you guys are crazy when you started this.
He's like, do you need a job?
Yeah. And so then he's like, but now I see, you work out 15 to 20 hours a week. Now I see why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Which is funny to us because that is true, but you don't see that we literally work every other minute outside of that.
Yeah.
At home, we're working every night. Like last
It
night,
never stops.
Yeah. It's great.
we're talking about this podcast until we go to bed.
Yes.
What time do you guys go to bed?
Well, I mean, I go to bed early,
Nikki went to bed at 9. I went to bed at 10.
but I wake up early. Like I was on
She's waking up at 5.
I was on the trainer this morning, or the bike trainer this morning, trying to just listen to more podcasts and hone the interview skills and think of questions and whatnot.
So it's nonstop.
Yes. You got to love it though, right? Like
That's the thing, yeah.
It's
What
fun.
else
Yeah.
do you want to be doing with your life?
Exactly.
What else could you do? With the, I cannot even think.
People are lazy, Sam.
And I think once you realize that it's not that scary to fail,
Yeah.
it all of a sudden propels you into this like I call it like the reckless delusion of an entrepreneur where you're just like,
Yeah.
I've already failed once, or maybe I've failed at this idea. And you know what? I came back out on the other side and was totally fine. And it actually made me think of a better idea.
Yes.
So once you get that momentum and confidence, it kind of just puts you in this happily reckless entrepreneurial
Yeah, that's
mindset.
Yeah.
And I think people have, but it's hard to get to that point. It's hard to fail that first time to keep going.
The thing I love the word momentum.
Yeah.
The thing I think about momentum is you need to protect it at all costs, but you have to remember what got you the momentum. It's the unsexy stuff that we were talking about earlier. It's the hard work. It's this working all day, every day, and that's what got you the momentum. And the only way to keep it and to keep pushing it is to keep doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of our questions to you because we talk about this all the time. Both partners can't be up all the time, right? Like, have you noticed that?
Like awake.
No, like
Energy,
energy level.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times,
momentum, you
Yeah.
know, like,
well, somehow like it's always when I'm kind of down, he's somehow up, and when I'm up, it's usually because I'm sensing that he's maybe down about something. What's that balance that you all find? Like, have you even noticed that?
I think it's a never-ending journey. It's just calibration. You have to have a lot of self-awareness. You have to pay attention to how you feel. What are you eating? What are you doing? What are your activity levels? When do you need rest? The word rest is probably the number one used word at our company is of like, other than like Goodwipes or wipe your butt or something like what? Okay, now it's time to get some rest. Okay, great. You need the day off to get some rest. I need to rest. Like I need to rest. I need to rest the whole weekend. Always calibrating.
Yeah. I mean, I think two things come to mind. One, you know, we're not like next year is not end state, right? So it's what is this thing in 5, 10, and 15 years? And how do we run the race long and how do we finish well? And so I think one, we're here. I think the variable between winning and losing is staying in the fight. And the best definition of perseverance that I've ever read is enduring the lows and optimizing the highs. So going on off of Sam's note on momentum, like when we have momentum, it's like we don't want to take that for granted and we're going to press. But then when we're down, it's kind of this idea of like, all right, if we can just stay kind of like neutral here and keep pressing, the tides will change. And then kind of the other side of that is we talk about what we call the growth formula, and it's stress plus rest equals growth. And that's anywhere, right? Like you guys train, and if you guys just rode your bikes for 10 hours a day, every day, like you guys would be crippled and you'd fall apart. You have to layer in the rest to grow. And I think we've been doing it for 10 years now, and we hope to do it for another 10 and 20 years. But what we've learned in the first decade is we have to layer in that rest to be high achievers and high performers.
yeah, that makes total sense.
So if we see, like if someone at work, we can just tell is off, we'll be like, hey, let's call it.
What's the worst fight you two have ever been in?
I wanted to ask this, but
Has it ever come to blows?
I feel like you're gonna say
Blows?
two different
Blows.
like
No.
punching.
No, but we talked about the other day in a regulated environment. We were doing MMA training and our like personal training in Stuart, Florida. And he was like, he really wanted us to try jujitsu, so he had us doing jujitsu, and we had never done it before. And he's nothing against him; he's a very good guy. And then Charlie like lifted me up, and I was flexing my core, and he turned me, and so I like popped a rib or something, which at a lower weight I could feel. I can't really find it right now. That was the most he ever physically like harmed me.
Okay. But what's the worst fight?
I think early on there were some tough ones.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm proud of, and I think you got to be able to, I always say, like, you have to be able to like put stuff in a compartment and turn it on. And we've been really good at that. And that's been a muscle that has really grown over the years. Even at Complete Nutrition, I remember specifically in Minneapolis, I mean, we're bitching at each other in the car. Bad. And like in the parking lot, like kind of in each other's faces. And we're about to walk in and meet a franchisee and then like do a team launch. And it's like the moment that you step in that door, you have to be able to put it in a compartment and turn it on. I hate him in the moment. He hates me in the moment, right? There's nothing more than we want to do than like lock up and take this thing to the ground. But we always prioritize the people around us first. And yeah, I think like over time that's gotten a lot better. And I do think a lot of that is a byproduct of an absence of vulnerability and trust. And over years, that we've become more vulnerable, and the byproduct of that has been a higher, trust quotient.
If you ain't fighting, if we're not having disagreements, then you're probably not really talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that you should strive to like fight all the time or have disagreements, but if you're not, then like you're not opening up, you're not sharing like what's truly.
Well, I think the brilliant stuff
Yeah.
comes outside of the conflicts. So on
Yeah.
the other side of conflict, there's typically a better resolution and direction, but it's how do you handle yourself in that?
So I want to wrap up the kind of journey real quick.
Sure.
So we're into like 2017, 2018. What is the next big pivotal moment for Goodwipes? You're out of Switchyards. You've gone through the incubator. You're starting to get some traction. What was the next big pivotal moment?
Yeah, I think we were kicking rocks for a while once we got back from Cincinnati. And on the other side of Cincinnati, we had a much more polished distribution strategy. We didn't have the capacity to press into it, so we went back out to raise money. And I think a keynote on raising money, it's a tactic to go where you want to go. It's not a strategy to win. And that was really tough. I think it's something like less than 2% of companies are able to raise money, and the average duration of raise is 12 to 15 months. This one took us almost 2 years, this round. At 17 months.
Oh my God, that was brutal.
17 months was March 15th, 2020. And we thought we were going to get a wire. We thought March 15th, thought we were going to get a wire. We make a phone call. We're like, hey, we haven't received any money. What's the deal?
Things have already started shutting down.
Things are, yes, kind of on the fringes, right? People are talking a little bit, and we don't hear from them for 3 days. And we're like, all right, we think the writing is on the wall. And finally, they're like, hey, we had 5 deals in the mix. We're pencils down on everything. We were friends with them. And we're like, well, we shouldn't have done this, hindsight, but we had been executing on the assumed money coming in. We're over our skis on this thing. And it was scary. But 2020 was, I think for most consumer brands, consumer spending was up, especially with toilet paper being such a hot commodity. Our category was on fire. So 2020 was a pivotal year. Just because of consumer spending going up, we got really pressed and had to get sharp on the business. And then we also tranched a little bit of capital.
So did that funding ever come through?
August 27th, 2020.
August, okay.
Yeah.
So it was a full 2-year fundraise.
Yeah.
But no,
That was
again,
I cried then.
Yeah.
I cried during the raise, 100%.
it was another gift though, right? Like
Hell yeah.
We ended up raising 4 times the amount of capital at 2.5 times the valuation.
Yeah.
And we're raising now, but we haven't raised since. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty pivotal. And I would say the first year after raising wasn't as great as we thought it was going to be. And then the last 2 years, really as byproduct of bringing studs on the team and adding some rigor and diversifying the team from generalists with specialists. The last 2 years is when I feel like we have a bit more control, not in a bad way, right? I think like open-handedness in this stuff is important. But directionally, I think we have a lot more sight and clarity than we had 2 years ago.
Sight and clear, like the path to everywhere we want to go and what that will look like is there.
It's a clear,
Everything was a guess up until 2 years ago.
yeah.
And
It's a
then
clear
now-
vision now.
Yes.
Clear vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time where you thought, oh my gosh, we might actually have to shut this whole operation down? Or have you never even thought that,
Never crossed my mind.
Charlie?
Well, as the one that manages the money, yeah. I mean, there was never a time. I think there was times where we would like question, is it worth it? I would question, is it worth it? Not thinking that I was gonna like tap out, but just like the thoughts would come like, this is hard. If we were to look at what we have and what's in front of us, it just doesn't add up. We would be interviewing accounting firms and stuff, and they're like, so what are you guys gonna do in like 2.5 weeks? We're like, we live in this zone. Just like, let us keep pressing. There was a Target pitch that I land in Minneapolis for, jump in the Uber, head over to the pitch. I get an alert on the phone, and we had negative $35,000 in the bank account. It was a mix up with our freight forwarder. We had an outstanding balance with them. The rep told us that he would release a container so that we could receive it and factor against it and then pay the bill. But his home office was like, if we release that container, we're doing an ACH for literally like 40 grand. We had like $5,000 in the bank account. And so had to walk into Target and pitch a national marketing plan on how we're going to add value to their category with negative $35,000.
Wow.
I mean, that's the story, right? For literally different ranges of that.
And you won that pitch.
We got parts of that pitch.
Okay.
We got parts of that pitch.
So then, through all of these trials and tribulations, bring us to the part of the journey where you are now.
The outputs are thriving.
Yeah.
But it is still very sweaty. It's sweatier than ever, right? Where every year we say we're going to grow, right? Like growth and comfort are like oil and water. I don't think they mix. So if we say we're going to grow, we're also saying and raising our hand to discomfort. So it is uncomfortable constantly. But the outputs, they are great. They are sexy and they're thriving. And I think we have a high degree of confidence and security, so that feels good. But the farther we move the goalposts on the goal, the pressure, kind of remains high.
And because of the success that we're seeing and what's happening in flushable butt wipes and like the evolution and the revolution that we're seeing with people incorporating it and keeping the habit, the goalposts do move almost every 3 months of like, how much better can we do in Target? Now that we're seeing and get comfortable with what's happening, that comfort has brought discomfort all over again, because it's like, holy shit, everything is growing faster than we anticipated. So the goalposts do continue to move. And without naming numbers, I mean, if you're growing to 100 million plus, I don't think we've met anyone that said that it's been easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So we have a clear vision for the future. What is it?
Really, it's super simple. It's the same things that we've been doing, but just amplified times 10, times 100, as much as we can with resources, capital, and human wise. Get that head count up, how many heads can we get? You know what I'm saying? And it's just doing more of the same. It's getting more people aware of this better hygiene practice with the best product out there.
I think when you think what that looks like, we say we do what we do for just a simple reason, and it's to make people feel good every day, right? That was out of necessity for us. We knew that we felt better. We were more confident versions of ourselves when we were wiping wet. And we're doing that kind of like through this mission of changing the way that people think about hygiene. Like this is personal care. This is an opportunity to invest in yourself. We're big believers in, you practice hard, you play hard, you look good, you feel good. And when that mission comes to fruition, and we then crash into our vision, and it's that the world falls in love with feeling good, and Goodwipes is synonymous with butt wipes. And we believe that's very real in the next 4.5 and 5 years.
I'm about to show you how we do it downtown. Take your shirt off.